Let's talk about some more sequences in conversation analysis. Conversation analysts believe that speakers are they mutually construct and reconstruct and negotiate their meanings, and in the process they probably develop certain structures, certain sequences which are different from those which are generally known in a conversation analysis trajectory. For example, we have adjacency pairs, preference structures, but besides them, we develop some new structures which are different from them. In this case, we have an example of pre-sequences, which may be in form of pre-invitation. Before sending or asking somebody for an invitation, you say something in advance. That will lead towards that invitation. I mean, before inviting somebody to a dinner at your home tonight, you might ask him or her about their routine. And when you know that they're free in their routine, you might invite them. So the things which are asked first and which are not actually the main content or main intended meaning of the conversation, they may be called pre-sequences. The real sequence is one of the invitation or the one which you want to ask or want to convey. So all these sequences are also very important in conversation analysis. And as a learner of conversation analysis, you need to know them thoroughly. Some typical examples of such sequences may be in form of pre-sequences, insertion sequences, and opening and closing sequences, which may vary from culture to culture. Insertion sequences are known as those sequences which fall between an adjacency pair, and when we do not get an immediate second part of a pair which is said first, we can say whatever is interrupting or delaying the answer is insertion sequence. For example, if you ask to somebody what time is it, and the other person, instead of telling you that it is this time, he says, why do you want to know it? And you say, I just want to know it because I need to do something. And then he replies that it's 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, let's say. Whatever falls between is an insertion sequence. Now let's move on and look into pre-sequences and closing and opening sequences. Pre-sequences are usually the opening sequences that are used to set up some specific potential actions. They are actually said in advance to what you intend to perform through your words. Conversations are opened in socially recognized ways, and these pre-sequences are part of our socially recognized ways of speaking in many societies. In the beginning of the conversation, speakers normally greet each other. When two office workers meet in the morning, for example, one of them is Ali and the other one is Salman. Ali and Salman meet with each other in the morning. They cannot straight away start with a talk about their work or something. In the beginning, they would probably greet each other. Ali says, morning, Salman. Salman says, hi, how is it going? Ali says, oh, can't complain. I guess ready for the meeting this afternoon. Salman, well, I don't have much choice. I mean, I have to go there. Much choice. They greet each other first, and then they talk about some of their office work or some of their routines. Greetings usually exemplify opening sequences, utterances that ease people into a conversation. Through greeting, you enter into real conversations with much ease as compared to the situations where there are no greetings. They convey the message, I want to talk to you, a kind of stuff. There are pre-invitations. For example, when you want to invite to somebody to a match, you might say, I've got 2 tickets for the football match. Instead of saying straight away that let's go for the football match, or I invite you for a football match, somebody might say, I've got 2 tickets for the football match to somebody. Then moving on, would you be able to join me to watch the match kind of stuff as a kind of invitation. Then there could be pre-requests before inviting somebody to somewhere. You might ask, are you busy right now? And the answer would decide about your request. You might ask him. If the other person says, no, I'm free, you might ask, could you help me in this matter? So request would follow, but there would be a pre-request which would lead us to the actual request. In the following example in front of you, the participant A is using a pre-invitation. And he says, what are you doing this Sunday? B replies, nothing special. Why? A then says again, why don't you come out with us then? If you're doing nothing, why don't you come down? Come down and join us for a kind of visit outside. So there is a pre-invitation here which says, what are you doing this Sunday? Asking about the routine or the schedule of the Sunday of the person you are inviting would be treated as a pre-invitation. Then a pre-request here, participant A says, are you going out tomorrow? B says, no, not really. Then A says, are you using your car then? B says, no. Do you want to borrow it? He guesses that probably he's asking for the reason that he would like to borrow it. A said, yes, if you are not using it. Request comes now. So whatever is said earlier might be treated as a pre-request, especially the first statement, are you going out tomorrow? This may be treated as a typical example of pre-request. There are also some opening and closing structures which are followed in various cultures. For example, in some cultures it's not wise to ask about somebody's routine straight away. People would probably start with some comments about weather, some inquiries about health, which are usually followed by the greeting. Greetings come first, then some comments about health. We also use the same structures. जब हम मिलते हैं एक दूसरे को तो हम पहले अस्सलाम वालेकुम कहते हैं और उसके बाद इस्लाम के जवाब के बाद हम फिर हेल्थ का पूछते हैं, क्या हाल है आपका, कैसे हैं आप, and then we start the actual discussion. So this can be treated as a typical opening structure or opening preference in a Pakistani typical conversation within any language, because this comes to us through our cultural norms. In this example in front of you, a 34-year-old housewife greets a 15-year-old student, and the housewife, which is named as Ikra in this example, says, hi, Laiba. Laiba, who's a student, says, hi, Ikra. Ikra says again, hi, how are you? Laiba says, not bad, I'll be in a minute. So this is not the actual purpose of discussion or actual purpose of interaction or conversation. Ikra has started with the greeting, hi. Then she has asked about the health of Laiba, how are you? And then she will move on to the next conversation. So this is a typical opening structure in many cultures of the world. Similarly, there are differences in the closing structures as well. We have different norms in different societies. In some societies, people just end up their discussion abruptly on a logical conclusion. Some people might go for some greetings again, or some farewell comments like goodbye, etc. And in some cultures, for example, in British and North Americans, they have a pre-closing sequence rather than just ending up with a farewell stuff or farewell comments. They would talk about some routine things about meetings next day, all kind of stuff in order to close their conversation. And this is typical to to some of the cultures in the world. As I said earlier, some cultures might close a discussion or conversation abruptly. So looking at an example representing British and North American culture, who have a pre-closing sequence before actually saying goodbye to each other, is in front of you. Participant A says, anyway, I'm gonna have to go. Participant B says, yeah, see you. But it's not finished yet. You'll see there will be more talk, which is a pre-closing sequence. Then A says, see you tomorrow. Then C says, what time is it? D says, oh, I have my lights on. He remembers something. Then E says, 2:30. E replies to the inquiry, which was about time. Then C says, 3. This kind of stuff is maybe treated as a pre-closing before they finally say goodbye to each other. The participants in a conversation might use such utterances as pre-closing. So in conversation analysis, we might assume that there could be other sequences than adjacency pairs or established preference structures of a conversation, which may be as important as those established structures to understand the conversation of a certain nature in a typical context.